Welcome back to the Aftermatch with Kirst and Beav. Come for the rugby, stay for the Aftermatch, stay for the victories over Ireland, Beav. That's 3 in a row. 3 in a row, and we get one back in Chicago. Look, we're not gloating about it. A win's a win, though, right? You take it.
Yeah, win's a win. And look, it's one that I thought they would get, and probably as comfortable as they did. But, geez, what an eventful Sunday morning it was for us here in New Zealand. And when I say Sunday morning, we had grave concerns it might creep into Sunday afternoon as well. Such was the length of the fixture. And
of the first half, you mean?
Of the first half and how drawn out it was. Look, we've got to try and stay positive. We're here for the positiveness around rugby, but it wasn't a great showpiece. But as a positive, Kirst, some of the aerial shots of that Soldier Field, didn't it look something special?
Honestly, like the entire week for everyone that was over there, it looked incredible. Going to the baseball, going to the basketball, the deep dish pizzas and beers. Like, as a sporting spectacle, it looked incredible. Even if the first 60 minutes wasn't too fantastic of the test, I feel like, Beav, we would have loved to have been there.
I think we would have. And,
I think we would have enjoyed ourselves.
And a couple of things you mentioned, the pizza and the beers, I think would have been fantastic for me.
Let's talk about the test then.
Yep.
Positives. Who stood out? Because there was a lot that went on in that game, right? When you think about that first half alone, cards, injuries, decisions, the TMO, all sorts was going on. Who stood out for you from an All Blacks perspective?
Yeah, as you say, fascinating game considering you lose your All Black captain after a couple of minutes, then you lose your vice captain who just happens to be brother of the captain and two of our best players in Scott Barrett and Geordie Barrett. And you thought, geez, although Ireland had suffered the 20-minute red card, you thought how unsettling could this be for the All Blacks who, they are probably got some confidence at the moment, but they're not walking around probably full of confidence. So it was a big test for them, and the fact that they were able to get out of it. Yes, it wasn't the perfect game of footy, let's be honest, but I thought some of the younger boys really stood up. I know he came off the bench, but instantly I thought Lester Whananuku added something massively. His first touch set up the All Blacks' first try in the corner, and considering what that was off, it was off slow ball. It was off 3 very slow rucks. It was pretty ugly shape, to be fair, when he got it. It was a couple of out the back balls that was fooling no one, that was holding no one, and he just went bang, and he created his own try, he created the try on his own, really. And the good work was done. Cam Roygaard was very, very good again. Kuntapaya had some big moments when you think about the turnover off the Will Jordan kick, which I think highlighted a lot about where the All Blacks are at the moment, that they're kicking so quickly on turnover ball. But Kuntapaya did brilliantly, and that was a real swing of momentum. And I think also, if you look over the fence there and look at the Irish team, they had some moments, but they couldn't get their game going. And, what have we always said here about the Irish? You have to go after them at set piece because they're such a machine when it comes to how they attack. They need everything to be flowing. And as soon as you disrupt their line out, the flow goes from their game. And, you got to tip your hat to the boys in the line out, of course, without Barrett, without Tupou Va'e, who's probably our best lock these days, and you haven't got your captain, and yet we were still able to put considerable pressure on their line out. And they did the same to us, but I think we can survive better without a set piece functioning than Ireland team can, because I think the Irish team is so heavily reliant on getting their structures in place for then Jamison Gibson Park to flow on, that I thought the line out pressure from the big men up front was immense, and you could talk about Artie every week, couldn't you? But again, some big players. I really like some of Peter Lakai's contributions, and then while we're in the loose forwards, Wallace off the bench and the bench in general, Kirst. And, yes, you could say the scoreboard helped the bench because when they came on, there was a little bit of breathing space. But I just thought how the bench came on with their energy, with their pace of game. And I don't know what it looked like to you, Kirst, but it almost looked like they threw the threw all the structure and threw all the plans out the window in that last 20, and didn't we look like a good team?
Let's just play.
Let's just play. I really thought the shackles came off in that last 20, and it wasn't loose. It wasn't just reckless, but I just thought guys were making decisions for themselves, and they weren't handcuffed by any set pods or set structures. And when you've got Roygaard throwing a cutout ball from his own 15 metres line when they're trying to exit, or when you've got guys just in wide channels creating space for others, Damien McKenzie changing line against a rushing defensive line, Bodie Barrett sucking people out, it just looked like the shackles were off in the last 20, and we got out of that set piece to kick to structure sort of mindset, and it was great to watch.
You've just basically brain dumped on us and answered every single question that everyone has. But look, answer this question for me, Beav.
Yes.
Answer this question. 2 tests, 2 standout performances in 2 different positions. Where do you see Leicester Whanganuku at the Rugby World Cup for the All Blacks?
Oh, Kirst, he's got a starting jersey on.
Where?
Yeah, well, it's going to be the balancing act, isn't it? If we've
make a prediction, come on.
Where will he be? Where will he be? I think he'll be on the wall.
He's going to be in the 23.
Oh, I think,
no doubt about that.
I think if he continues where he's going to be in the 15. Such as his impact on a games at the moment. And I know we're only talking about the last 2 test matches, but that's all we've seen of him this year in the All Black jersey. And he is.
I think it has to be at 13 then, Beav.
I don't know. I think they're going to give more time to this Tapia Jordan. Tapia Jordan. Sorry, Geordie. I'm getting my Geordie Barris and my Will Jordans all mixed up here. I think that midfield might get a bit of time. But you're right. He's got to be somewhere.
If Geordie Barrett's out injured and Tapia, and look, I'm just speculating. We obviously know he's gone for this weekend. We don't know the extent of his injury. But let's say that Geordie Barrett's out for a little bit. On the end of your tour, we see Quinn and Leicester as a 12-13 combination. Is there any way in your mind, any way at all, that by the World Cup, Geordie's back to 15, Will Jordan's on the wing, and it's Leicester and Quinn in the midfield?
Well, funny enough, I was just actually, as you were starting to rattle that off, all I was thinking about was sometimes the greatest selections and arrangements come through forced injuries, aren't they? And we think about the time that Geordie himself got to 12.
Exactly.
And so all of a sudden, you're suggesting to me in my head.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm just wondering if there was ever a possibility that it could potentially happen.
So I'm going to summarise. So Quinn Tapia and Leicester go absolutely gangbusters this week at 12 and 13. So then all of a sudden, Geordie comes back. He goes to 15. Will Jordan goes to a wing, like they've been screaming he's not for the last 2 years. And you're saying we're walking into Australia with a backline looking like that. There you go, Kirst. You heard it here.
Maybe.
You heard it here first.
Maybe. Leroy Carter on the other. I don't know. I'm just saying, is there any chance that could potentially happen? When we're saying right now that Leicester, he's got to start, right, for the All Blacks?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's an exciting midfield. Isn't it, this week? I mean, and I know we're going to talk about the Scotland game later, but geez.
What did those two do for you?
Well, I mean, Quinn's just carried on his form, hasn't he? I think what's really starting to be highlighted is Quinn's work defensively too. And I'm not talking just from a tackling point of view. You watch him at the breakdown, and yep, there's often the highlights reel stuff where he's getting penalties or he's actually getting turnovers, but he's also doing some massive work just in general slowing the ball down. And you can't put a price on the fact that the opposition is getting slow ruck ball, and especially a team like Ireland who thrive off that quick ruck ball. I mean, when Ireland was good, Kirst, you look at their entries into the 22, you look at their first try when James Lowe snuck off down a little short side off a ruck, and then they got momentum, and then Jamison Gibson Park is able to just go forward to every single ruck. He's bringing all those boys on, and it's just like the well being broken, essentially. The water just keeps pouring through, where Quinn Tapia and doing what he did throughout the game, defensively solid, but then fighting those rucks like he does. Yeah, he gets the odd penalty, which we all praise him for, but it's his continuous threat there at the breakdown. And then I think we highlighted the fact that Leicester Whanganuku, ball in hand, his power at the moment and footwork. And also, I think it's too easy to probably put Leicester in the category of just being a big man who can bash you down. If you look at some of his subtleties in the weekend, Kirst, some of his little passes, his feeding of his outsides, I think that's probably something that may have caught a few by surprise. There were some lovely little touches down short sides. There were some lovely little opportunities where he'd done some damage, and it would have been easy for him to get caught up with it and go, well, I'm going to carry on here. But no, he offloads or he feeds. So I think it's easy to think that a Quintapai Leicester midfield is this week going to be just a big bash-a-thon, but I don't think it will be. I think there's enough subtleties to both the game now that the outsides will still get plenty of ball.
Those 2 years in France did him good, eh? Let's talk about another combination. Very light on experience at international level. I think both of them played their 10th test on the weekend. Fabian Holland, Josh Lord, 23-year-old and 24-year-old. Some height there in the second row, Beav. But that is the future of the All Blacks locking combo, isn't it?
Well, let's just find some wood and continue to touch it, because Josh Lord, has had such a stagnated start because of injuries. But yeah, I mean, I think, as we highlighted earlier, one of the big issues for Ireland not being able to put their game on the park really in Chicago was the fact that our line-out stifled, again, a lot of their ball. And like Josh Lord and Holland, in fairness, probably started the season maybe 5th and 6th cabs off the rank. And there they went out there against a pretty experienced Irish forward pack. Admittedly, they lost a couple of due to injury and red cards, but still they were out experienced, it has to be said, but they continued to do a job there, and were massive reasons I think the All Blacks win. So yeah, brilliantly stuff. And why we're in the type 5? Can I just touch on some of the handling from some
your favourite?
Well, I mean, it's easy to put Ethan de Groot in the category of just set piece scrummager. But my word, I think you could put a number 10 jersey on the back of him at the moment.
He's got silkier hands than you,
Oh,
Beav.
well, I mean, that's not hard. I mean, these were very, very hard mitts. But no, some of his little ball playing, he helped contribute to the first try. And then, as I said, it's so common these days for the out the back pass in amongst those pods. But when Ethan does it, he does it square, and he does it so effortlessly that, it's a part of his game. I didn't think the man from the deep south had in him, but every week he gets me off my couch. And in that first half, Kirst, I needed something to get me off the couch if I wasn't abusing the referee and the technology that they, or lack of, they have in their Chicago.
Okay, well, let's talk about the final 20 minutes where Cam Roigard really came alive then. Who was your All Blacks Black Magic Player of the Weekend, Beav?
Yeah, well, of course, it is Black Magic All Black of the Weekend time for all your fishing needs right now. Go to blackmagic.com and, look, I'm currently overseas on work, Kirst, and looking at the weather forecast back home at the moment, it is breaking my heart to see that.
It's beautiful, Beav.
Oh, and there's no
perler of a day after day.
And there's no wind, and all I'm thinking about is getting my Black Magic tackle wet, getting my snapper snacks out there, getting my stray lining kit from Black Magic, but I can't do that. And so I've got to talk rugby to you. So let's get back to it. The Black Magic All Black of the Weekend again. And look, he appears to have a mortgage on it at the moment, but Cam Roigard, I thought he was very, very good again. Couple of big moments he had. Yep, he had the try that put the game beyond doubt. We touched on the fact that he just had the bravery and backed himself, that he saw Caleb Clark in space inside his own 22. The game's on the line. I think we're up by maybe 5 or so at the time. Bang, throws a 30-metre cutout. Because why? Because he saw him in space and he just threw it. And I think that shows someone who's well and truly, A, in control of his own game, but B, extremely confident. But just a little small thing that I reckon has really started to become pretty apparent is how he's getting momentum to the All Black attack. And when he does these little probes, and I'm sure you can all picture it, he sort of goes slow, then he goes fast. And he's only going, and this is only over 1 or 2 meters, but what he's doing is he's catching the eyes of not the first guy off the ruck, because he's always just going to be, he's usually going to be a slow forward, and he's always, his job, he knows, is just to come forward and take the space from a defensive point of view next to the ruck. But it's the work that Cam Roigard does by putting a slight change of pace down, he's getting that second defender. And that second defender ideally should be looking out and having a look at the first ball carrier outside of Roygaard. But all of a sudden, Roygaard's getting him. With that change of pace, Roygaard's getting him. So Roygaard's all of a sudden, he's got the guy right next to Ruck, and then he's got the next guy. And all of a sudden, for the All Black forwards or backs, whoever are punching down off him, they're getting some pretty weak shoulders, and they're getting that 1 or 2 metres. And all of a sudden, you might think 1 or 2 metres, small thing, but that's the difference between momentum and not. And once you get momentum, then everything's on the table. And it's time to play. And then that's the one thing to really notice in the last couple of outings from Roygaard is the deception and the confusion that he's putting in the opposition defence close to those rucks. And look, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. We said he would be the name after this.
It was his interview too, wasn't it?
It's his interview too, and I see a few other media lights are now starting to jump on the bandwagon and say, he might be starting to threaten being the best in the world. And look, I don't need to be praised here, Kirst, because I know you've got a fixation with a guy that lives in France, but my word,
who's just signed a new contract at Toulouse.
He's a Toulouse boy.
Toulouse. Did you see the headlines that were made? They make a spectacle out of that. They stop the match, half-time. He walks out onto the pitch. They've got an AD 2031 plaque done up for him, and he signs his contract extension centre field with the whole stadium looking at him. The hype around him and around French rugby, we just don't do it the same.
No, well, it made me think. I'm trying to think if it was either Tana or when Sonny Bill signed with Toulouse for the first time. Did they get something similar, an unveiling with that sort of hype and hoopla? But yeah, I mean, I'd hate to think he'd almost be on as much money as you if he signed out to 2031. I mean, he's probably entering the worlds of Kirst Stanway pay packet.
Don't get me started, Beef. But look, back on Cam Roygaard.
Yep.
He's challenging Ardie Savea as being an essential part of the All Blacks, right? They look like a different team when Cam Roygaard is playing. His winning percentage, when he's playing for the All Blacks are sitting at a 90% or even higher, maybe 92% winning record, Beav. So as you say, the hype and the hoopla, everyone jumping on the bandwagon. Could he now, like right now, or maybe in 3 weeks' time, be classified as the best halfback in the world?
Yeah. Yep. Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes.
It's only between two of them, isn't it? And DuPont's not playing.
He's in the top 2 already. He really is. And look, this isn't a clickbait session here, but he is well and truly top 2. And the great thing is those two play a brand of footy that you want to watch. Both of them all of a sudden are must watch. And that's a special thing. You talk about essential to the All Blacks.
And of course, Ethan de Groot.
And Ethan de Groot, I mean, I'll pay money to watch those silky hands of his at the moment. But no, you did right. As far as if you're picking an All Black team to play for your life, 2 guys that you can't not have there are Ardie and Cam Roygaard. They are so essential.
Okay, well, let's look ahead then, Beav. Let's look ahead now that we've banked the victory against Ireland, which was important. It was 2 versus 3. Ireland would have jumped the All Blacks into second place had they won that on the weekend. They didn't. We remain second. This weekend, we go to Edinburgh. Boys are already there. What's it like to play at Murrayfield?
One of the best. Absolutely one.
Bagpipes on top of the stadium.
That is the thing that blows your mind. So they turn off all the lights, Kirst, as you're about to walk out. And because Murrayfield by nature has got this running track down, I think it's only down the one side that as you walk out of. So it obviously used to be an athletic track, but I think they bring the other side in. But there's the running track. So naturally it's like, there's a bit of space in between the field and the ground. So people think, not a great rugby stadium. But no. When you're there and the lights are turned off and there's this one spotlight on a bagpiper, up on the top stand who, not only is he wonderfully skilled at his craft, extremely brave to be standing up there because, sometimes the weather in Edinburgh inclement. And
also he'd have a kilt on, so
chilly.
She wouldn't be warm.
This time of year is chilly up in Edinburgh, no doubt about it.
And you know the tradition with the kilt as well, so...
But I do think Edinburgh, Murrayfield, it's one of the great stadiums. I think obviously naturally, a lot of New Zealanders have ancestry there. So whenever you're there all week, you're getting told, oh, yes, your clan's from down the road and all of this. And so everyone goes out and tries to find these souvenir shops where you find your last name and you can buy your tartan, I think it's called, Kirst. But I'm diving off into fashion now. But back to playing in Edinburgh. Yep, one of the great spots. Absolutely loved going to Edinburgh and playing at Murrayfield.
Did you come home with the tartan?
I think I did on one trip, yes. Found the Donald one.
So you came home with a surfboard from South Africa,
Yeah.
a tartan from Scotland.
And both have been used as much.
Okay, this All Blacks team then, 120 years.
Yep.
They've never lost to Scotland. We've heard over the last few weeks a few pundits, a few former players saying now's the time. Now is Scotland's time. What sort of chance do you give them of beating the All Blacks? We know it's going to be completely different conditions.
Yep.
And the All Blacks are going to have a couple of changes, aren't they?
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of changes there for the All Blacks. Look, I think, respectfully, I think a lot of the punditry that is suggesting that Scotland might be at the top of the All Blacks this time around is based morely on the golf and perceived lack of at the moment. And I think, you're probably doing a little bit of a disservice to the current All Black crop. They are, as you said, number 2 in the world, comfortably, and I will use the word comfortably, one in Chicago eventually. So I can't see it. I know they'll be getting told all week through the locals and the press that this is the time. And look, Scotland have probably got a few once in their lifetime players. I was going to say generational, but
a few of your favourites as well who were in Australia for the Lions series. Finn Russell for one.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I say once in a lifetime because I don't think generational probably does the word justice. Finn Russell, obviously one of the absolute best. I can't think of too many Scottish fly halves. Obviously, his coach Gregor Townsend was a great in Scotland, but I think even he will concede that he probably isn't of the same ability as a Finn Russell. So he is the key. He is, the man who can pull all the strings. But for that to happen, Kirst, he's going to need a platform. And he's going to need Scotland to get a bit of a roll on. The Scotland play, and I like this from Gregor and the likes who coaching them. They play I guess that style of football that everyone plays. They get their forwards to get momentum and all the rest of it. But then it just appears, if you watch Scotland when they're firing, it's just, for a better sake, let's just play Finn Russell ball, and we just hand it over. He sees, he does. And it's great to watch, and it's a little bit out of the box when you think of the other Northern Hemisphere teams. And when you think about what he did with the British and Irish Lions and his style of play, like there were things like quick taps. There was, he would run it from anywhere and all the rest of it. And I think because I wouldn't say the pressure's off playing for Scotland as opposed to the Lions, but he would know that it's very much his team. He doesn't have to worry about selection or pleasing the coach. He's not his usual coach. He's literally got the full backing and full blessings to do what you do because he's won them so many games. So he is the key to them. But for me, if the All Blacks can get that forward pack rocking and rolling again, I still believe it would probably can play at a pace of game that would threaten the survival of the Scottish forward pack. The Scottish forward pack's got some huge players in there, big men who a lot of Lions experience. I think was it 8 or 9 went on the Lions tour, and some real class operators. I think Hugh Jones might be. I think he might be out this week, which is a big loss for them. Tupulotu's there, who was great for the Lions, but I think I think if the All Blacks can play to sort of that 90% of their ability, that they should be too good.
So, any changes to the All Blacks aside from the two obvious injuries? Obviously, no Geordie, no Scott. Aside from those two, with Josh Lord coming in and Leicester, would you change anything else?
I don't think you really can, Kirst, because it's like we've just said, obviously, I think if the All Blacks play well, they'll win. But I don't think we can afford to roll out too many. And you've got two forced ones and two hugely experienced and influential players out with the two Barretts. I don't think there's changes that can be made. And I also wonder, when you look at the guys who came off the bench and did so well, are they starting to get are they starting to get it? Are the All Blacks starting to get it? Like so much has been made of the bench issues, or we haven't got this.
Yeah.
We haven't got this bomb squad.
Our final 20 was great.
Are we finally working out that let's just play like New Zealanders and bring on these athletes? We don't have to bring on 6 giants to try and scrum penalties. Let's just bring on a Wallace Satiti, a Damien McKenzie, these sorts of guys who have pace and energy to the game. And look, I know we've sung the praises about Cam Roigard, but someone like a Ratama coming on for 15, like he's going to have just that extra bit of zest too. So no, I think we need to consolidate what we've got there, Kirst. It's settled, and with those 2 big outs in the Geordie and Scott Barrett, I think you don't make too many changes.
Just on that New Zealand style of play, Beav, if you weren't to have played for the All Blacks, and you think about your own style of play, which nation do you think you would have best suited?
Fiji.
Oh,
Wallabies.
nice.
I don't know. Yeah, I think just pure. I think my pace just lends itself to Fiji more than anything, Kirst. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, the magician in the middle.
Yes, Sarevi. I think
Yes,
nickname.
the King Sarevi, exactly like him. This is the Aftermatch with Kirst and Beav. Don't forget to post below who you think your All Black player of the weekend was, all thanks to Black Magic as well. That is part 1. We're going to come back for part 2 and take a look at what people are calling the biggest test match of the year. And it doesn't actually involve the All Blacks, this one. We're going to look at South Africa, France next.